What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 110. This issue was released in May of 1972, and the cover date is July of 1972. And today, folks, we are looking at a new character. His name is the Gibbon, and he's not really going to be presented as a villain in this issue, but we're going to be introduced to him. Spider-Man's going to meet him in this issue. And so let's go ahead and get started. We have a pretty cool cover here drawn by the great John Romita Sr. here. And let's just go ahead and look at this spectacular issue as we continue to look at all of these comics in order in this Volume 1 series here, folks. And so today's title is brought to you by Jazzy John Romita. He's doing the great artwork. Once again, he's one of my favorite comic book artists. We have John Costanza on the lettering. And I also want to bring up the fact that this will be one of the last issues that Stan Lee wrote for the Amazing Spider-Man title. I believe next issue is his last issue that he wrote. And so it's going to be an end of an era here. Stan Lee contributed to 111 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man, the first 111 issues, which is a remarkable feat. But that's just what I wanted to let y'all know if y'all didn't know about that. During this time period, Stan Lee was going to become the editor-in-chief of Marvel, and so he was going to allow someone else to take on the role of writing the stories of Spider-Man. And so that's just what I wanted to let y'all know. Well, let's go ahead and pick up where we left off last issue. In issue number 109, Spider-Man teamed up with Doctor Strange, and that was a pretty cool issue. But at the very end of that issue, he saw Flash Thompson walking away with Gwen Stacy, and now Spider-Man's all down in the dumps. He thinks that Gwen Stacy is in love with Flash Thompson. If you don't know by now, Peter Parker has been dating Gwen for a few years by now, and he's in love with her, and he doesn't want her to go and fall into the arms of another man. It would be heartbreaking if it was Flash, who has been a long-time rival of Peter Parker since the very beginning. And so that's what we see in the opening of this issue here. He's down in the dumps. He can't believe what his own eyes had seen, and he's now in a little bit of a rage here. He punches this, looks like a chimney stack here, almost breaks his hand here. And then he's once again careless again by throwing his automatic camera here, which he has been working on for so long so that he could take pictures for the Daily Bugle. The reason why he throws his camera is because he didn't take any photos of his fight with Doctor Strange when they teamed up together last issue. And so he gets frustrated and throws his camera without even thinking that he could damage that camera. So he tries to tag it with a web line and he misses. Well, it just so happens that there is someone to catch his camera. And who is that person? It's going to be the introduction of today's character, the Gibbon. But he's not in his costume here, in his gorilla costume. Instead, what we're going to meet is the civilian identity of the Gibbon, and his name is Martin Blank. Now, Martin Blank, if you don't know much about him, and we're introducing him in this issue, Martin Blank has had a very hard life. He was raised an orphan, and nobody ever seemed to want to adopt him because of one thing, and that is his looks. If you look closely at Martin Blake's face, he kind of resembles a monkey's face because of the way his nose looks and everything, and he's always been made fun of ever since he was a kid by other kids when he was growing up. And so he's trying to, tell Spider-Man that he has it harder, and he would have been just glad to take Spider-Man's role as the superhero. He says Spider-Man has it easy. Well, Spider-Man definitely doesn't have it easy, as he has all his hang-ups with his romantic relationships and hardships in his life as Peter Parker that Martin Blank knows nothing about. So this is where we're going to find a little bit of his origin story here. Martin Blank goes back to sleep and he starts remembering how it all began. We remember if, as he was a kid here, he's always made fun of. People compared him to apes. He even was able to climb trees like monkeys can as well. He was very agile. For someone who doesn't have superpowers, Martin Blank definitely was very agile and he's definitely enhanced his ability to climb things, as you'll soon see in this comic here. And so what we're going to see here is Martin Blank finally gets his chance at life here, a chance to make a name for himself as he joins this circus here, and he's going to put on this monkey costume, and he starts doing all of these acrobatics things in front of the people, but they don't want him to do that because he's going to steal the thunder of these other people, the people called the Zatellas, who are acrobats. And so what they really wanted Martin Blank for is just for comedic efforts here. They wanted him to just act like a monkey and have everybody laugh at him. And Martin Blank definitely doesn't like people laughing at him. And he gets frustrated and he leaves the circus. He wasn't able to make much money here. And so he gets on this train, and this is where he's been ever since. He's just been roaming and roaming, trying to escape life here. He's very depressed, but he awakes from his sleep and he says, "You know what? I got it. Spider-Man is the answer, and I have to meet him. I have to go find him again." Well, now we're going to look at what Spider-Man is up to. If you don't remember, he's been, swinging as Spider-Man for the past few days. He hasn't been able to get any sleep, and all the wear and tear has definitely been demonstrated on him as he has all these bruises. His clothes are tattered and worn, and he makes it back to Harry Osborn's apartment where he's sharing the apartment with him. And Gwen and Aunt May has been waiting for him, desperately waiting for him to return. Gwen is super happy to find that her man is safe, and Aunt May, out of her love for Peter, starts babying Peter Parker. Well, Gwen doesn't like that Aunt May is babying Peter, by the way, excuse me. And so she's like, "Aunt May, what did I tell you about treating him like a baby? Stop babying him." And Aunt May's like, "Oh, Gwen, you're right. I've been too maternal all these years." And then she leaves. And then all of a sudden, we see Peter Parker passes out. He is so tired that he's not able to keep his eyes open, and he crashes on Harry Osborn's couch here. We soon see that Harry Osborn and Flash Thompson are going to come into the apartment. They realize that Peter Parker has returned and he is just out for the count here. And we see that while they're all talking here, Flash Thompson is going to take Gwen Stacy home. And we see that Peter Parker opens his eyes just for enough amount of time for him to see Gwen walking out of his apartment with Flash Thompson. And then this is where the nightmares start taking place. And for 12 hours, he has these non-stop nightmares about Gwen Stacy leaving him with Flash Thompson, Aunt May getting mad at Peter, and he's shouting in his sleep, and he's awoken by Harry Osborn, his roommate. He says, "Man, you must have had the granddaddy of all nightmares. You have been yelling and going back and forth in your sleeps between snores for 12 hours. So Peter was asleep for 12 hours. That's how tired he was. Out of desperation here, he calls Aunt May to check on her, and she doesn't answer. Well, we see that she has left a note for Peter Parker. I wonder what that's all about. We'll have to find out later, more about that later. But for now, his biggest concern is to go find Aunt May. So he puts on his Spider-Man costume. He tells Harry he has to go find Aunt May. He's swinging through the town. His spider sense starts to tingle here, and this is where we're going to come across the actual Martin Blank as the Gibbon here. Now, Martin Gibbon is not out to attack Spider-Man. He's here to offer Spider-Man a deal. He wants Spider-Man to become his partner. He wants to tag team with Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Man instead of accepting that offer, he starts to laugh, and I mean, he laughs hard. And he says, "What is this? When I met you yesterday, was that an audition?" Well, Martin Blake gets his feelings hurt because Spider-Man's laughing at him, and he's like, "I told you to stop laughing at me. No one should mock me." And he starts to choke Spider-Man, but Spider-Man breaks the hold of the Gibbon without any effort here. Gibbon is surprised at this, and he's like, Spider-Man's like, "Look, go back to Sesame Street, will ya? I've got things to do." Well, Gibbon then grabs a hold of Spider-Man again, throws him off the ledge of the building. He thinks that Spider-Man is not going to be able to save himself. Well, Spider-Man uses his web line here to save himself, and he says, "Look, I hate to be a party poop, but you're not my idea of a fun person." And we see that Martin Blank lost his last hope here as Spider-Man got away, and his hatred is starting to build here. Well, in the shadows, lurking in the shadows, is a very familiar villain who is going to make his return. Coming up next, folks, we have the return of a very unique villain. I won't tell you who that villain is, but he is going to use the Gibbon to attack Spider-Man and even try to kill Spider-Man. So coming up next, folks, in issue number 111, we see the ape and the arachnid. What the heck is going to happen next, folks? We'll have to tune in next issue. I want you to tune in because we have a very exciting issue to look at issue number 111. But before we look at issue 111, go ahead now and drop a like on this issue. Tell me what you liked in the comments down below, what you liked about the Gibbon. Do you think he's a pretty cool character, or is he like a, average character? For me, I think he's a pretty average character, but we will find more about the Gibbon coming up next in issue 111. But before then, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.